live. 20 questions live. As promised, we're back. It's 2024. I am still shining a spotlight on talent that works in the audio description industry in partnership with the ADNA, the Audio Description Narrator Alliance. I believe that's what it stands for. The ADNA.org. My stuff, after I post it here, gets repurposed in podcast form, so you can check it out over there. Although you're watching it here, so maybe you're listening to it, it's a very weird concept. Anyway, today I have the esteemed honor of sitting down with Liz Gutman, who I have heard her name so many times at the end of everything, it feels like. So I'm really excited to be here with Liz. Say hi, Liz. Welcome to our 20 questions.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I am very honored to be here. I hope you're not sick of hearing my name.
No, no. I just wish there were more. It does kind of feel like there are like three writers, and you guys must. I don't even know how you have time to be here right now
We
because
work
there are
100-hour weeks.
writers do not get credited enough.
Agreed.
So I think the reason you seem so prolific is because we rarely hear written by.
Yeah,
And hopefully more and more that'll become more normalized because from my perspective as a film critic, when I talk about the audio description, I love to talk about the sound of the narrator's voice and how they're reading it, but the script is really that's key. That's the key, and
yeah, I agree.
often we don't ever know who does it. So
Yeah,
I
it
don't
is
know who I'm
wild to me.
criticizing.
Yeah, no, it is
Um,
wild to me how again, yeah, I am also not criticizing, but I don't understand why narrators can be credited and not writers because I hear that a fair bit too, where you get the
yeah.
narrator's name but not the writer. And then there are so many tracks where no one's credited at all, not even the company doing it. So
Oh yeah, that's a trend that I've seen, and it bothers me. But
it bothers me too.
anyway, this is for people to get to know you a little bit better through a series of silly to somewhat more serious questions, and not necessarily 100% a deep dive into everything that you do about your work. So I always like to start off with the first question that makes absolutely no sense. And statistically speaking, if you had to guess, who do you think has murdered the most people in the game of Clue? Which character in Clue is guilty of the most murders, and in which room with which weapon?
Oh no. Okay, well, first of all, statistics was always my weak point in high school. And I did calculus. I'm a mathlete, but I statistics always got me.
but
Um,
but you get a general vibe from people, right? Like it's a sketchy. Some of these people are, you
sure.
know,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I'm going to take a wild swing just because I have no
Okay.
clue whatsoever. I'm going to say, I'm going to go with Colonel Mustard. Never trusted that guy.
All right.
Um, in the drawing room,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Candlestick.
It's
I feel
always the
like
candlestick.
brute force is his calling
It's like,
card.
yeah, I feel like it's always the candlestick.
That's an easy one.
Everybody would be a lot safer in Clue if they could just get rid of all the candlesticks.
Truly,
So,
guys, get
yeah,
wired for
truly,
electricity.
absolutely. Um, so, second question: uh, uh, if you could have anyone that you've heard doing audio description do the audio description for your life, who would it be?
Ooh, writing or narrating or both?
Both. Let's. Who's credited at the end of the audio description for your life?
Hmm. Hmm, hmm, hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, dream scenario. I don't know how much AD she actually writes, but Louise Fryer is my audio description hero. She's authored, I think, several papers, at least one extremely like comprehensive textbook on AD practices. So I would trust her to do the best possible job. But if she if she's too busy doing actual academic stuff, then I think I think I would want my coworker, oh, and then it's gonna sound like I'm playing favorites. I'm gonna say Louise Fryer. That's dream scenario. And then
Okay.
narrating, I would like Natasha Lyonne to narrate my life,
Oh my God, that would be great.
right? I mean, I live in New York.
Yeah, Natasha Lyonne. That's one of those voices that you wish ended up as like a possibility on your Echo device, so that you
Yes,
could, so that it could be her or Morgan
absolutely
Freeman.
yes.
I'd be good with either one of those responding to me all the time, giving me
Yep.
advice in the morning.
Oh, I'd change
Absolutely,
that in a
definitely.
heartbeat. Yeah. Ask her what the weather's like.
Yeah. Um, Okay, so next tough question. Not really a tough question, but have you ever, I assume you go out with friends. Have you ever gone out to a film and watched a film for which you did the audio description track for and then enjoyed your own work before? But by
Not
accident, not by like choice, but like, hey, let's go to
mm,
the movies and it's a
mm.
big deal.
I have not. Um, Not in a theater. I work on a lot more streaming stuff than I do theatrical. So no, I haven't. But I do find
Okay.
it I mean, if I've worked on something, I've already seen it effectively. Well, if I've written it, I've seen it, you know, really 5 or 6 times kind of.
Yeah.
And if I've just narrated something, then I really wanna see it if it's any good because I'm like, "Well, I don't hear any of the dialogue. I don't know what the actual what's happening in actual scenes between people. I
Yeah.
only, we skip from description to description." So yeah, but I do find it tough to listen to my own writing. I always wanna edit.
That actually brings up an interesting. I know what I want my fourth question to be now.
Aha.
Now that I know that you watch everything like 5 or 6 times, have you ever been assigned something? You don't have to name it, but we could talk about the experience of being assigned something
Mhm.
that's like bad, and you have to watch it 5 or 6 times. I'm thinking about. I'll go ahead and I'll give a shout out, just because everybody's bashing the film. I
Mhm.
couldn't imagine being hired to write the script for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and having to watch that 6 times. That would blow my mind. I'd be like, I am not being paid enough for this film.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, no, I've definitely worked on stuff kind of all over the spectrum of bad, from like, "Oh,
Yeah,
this is really dull," to how like, literally, "How did this get made?" Yeah, it's never fun, so there's one there's one I have in mind, of course, I cannot say what it is,
yeah,
that
I totally
actively
understand. Yeah,
like, it it was horrible both because the sh the project itself was so bad, it made me angry, and because I was on a terrible deadline to write it, a huge rush. I was writing, like, 100 minutes a day, which is way too much for any scripted content. I was really rushing through. So, I as much as I disliked working on it, I'm still deeply not proud of the AD script that I turned out for it just because of the combination of, like, having to rush and also really having trouble with the content. It's fine. The work I turned in was fine. It
yeah,
did the job. It just wasn't one of my favorite projects.
cool. Well, speaking of favorite projects, what is your favorite movie? Or just a favorite movie? Some people have more than one. This is a hard question.
I mean, ever sheesh McGeesh. That's a really tough one. I mean, I was just talking about it to a friend, um, recently because I kind of would watch it anytime, and it was a movie that I worked on, and I think it's criminally underrated, is The Harder They Fall on Netflix.
Yeah,
Um,
that was a good movie.
it was an awesome movie. I just have nothing but great things to say about it, and I think it should have won a bunch of awards, and it just didn't. I love that movie so much. All the actors, like, the cast is incredible, the soundtrack is amazing. all the
Mhm.
like the visuals, all the ways the shots were set up. We actually, well, I kind of pushed the envelope on some of our style guide in that one, specifically to mention certain shots because I was like,
Yeah.
well, I can't let this go undescribed. I know we normally, kind of focus more on um, plot stuff, but there were certain shots and certain visuals that I was like, I just have to find a way to get this in here. So that's one that I don't know. I will recommend to everybody forever.
Oh yeah, and I absolutely love when the narration actually does find the time to work in some of those shots to actually let us know where the camera is coming from,
Hmm.
whether or not somebody is in focus or out of focus,
Hmm.
where somebody is located, whether or not it's are we zoomed in, are we zoomed out,
Yeah.
all those sorts of different things. Because a lot of these directors are really intentional with everything that they do, so it's great to work those kind of things in because then it becomes a lot easier to explain why something is good the way that it is. When you strip it down to just dialogue and character, some of these movies get kind of, which is why we need so much, especially like in big budget sci-fi type genres. We
Yeah.
need this lush audio description because if you phone it in, these films really don't have that strong a plot.
Yeah.
Sometimes it really is about the spectacle. Some of these directors are really about spectacle
Yeah.
and the way that things look. And if you take that away, then suddenly the movie's not special anymore. But everybody else is running around going, "Oh, this movie's amazing!" You're like, "I don't get
Right.
it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
You're
understand."
totally.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. This is why everything should have an audio introduction, but that's a separate conversation.
absolutely. And speaking of that, I'm going to assume we're gonna take all of the things you've ever done and just throw
Hmm.
it out the door. If
Okay.
you could describe one movie you have never written, if you could write the audio description track for something, what's a movie that you would be passionate about being the one who is on that audio description track like forever? You know,
Hmm.
which film would you jump on if you had the choice?
Oh, that's a really good
Dream film to
question.
write the script for. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this is where my goldfish memory really hamstrings me because I feel like I've watched movies where I'd be like, oh, it would be really cool to write the AD for that. Again, just because it's top of mind because I saw it last weekend. Um, I mean, Poor Things was like such an incredible visual feast. However, I watched it with the audio description, and the audio description is actually really good. So I can't fault it. I was like, oh well, this is great. But again, that's another one that would just really benefit from some kind of auxiliary description, an introduction or extended AD as an option, maybe. Just something because there's
Yeah.
maybe a Wes Anderson movie. I don't know. That's another one
Yeah.
that you
Definitely.
it just would. I don't know. There's just no way to get all of that information in between dialogue. It's impossible.
Yeah, I think especially if we made those more commonplace, I think a lot of films would benefit from the blind community having like an introductory, like 5 minutes to just describe. I mean, you could get so
Yeah.
much stuff out of the way.
Yeah.
You could describe characters, at least characters that are not spoilers, characters that it's like assumed that we will know who these characters are.
Yes.
You could describe the major locations,
Mhm.
anything that's not as, and just get sort of the feel and the vibe of a film right away at the beginning, and
Yeah.
then get to move on. And then once you get into film, you can actually start working on things like the shot. You could even mention things like color grading. I know blind
Mhm.
people understand the concept of color. So
Yeah.
the idea that maybe Zack Snyder is doing something that has like a bluish gray filter over it might be
Mm.
really interesting to them. Or a film like Maestro that switches from black and white to color.
Mhm.
I believe Four Things does the same thing, where it has
Yes.
black and white and color. So being able to single those things out, I think would be great. So I love the idea of intros. Unfortunately, we live in a world where every 3 weeks somebody posts online and still can't get the audio description to the third season of Star
Oh,
Wars Rebels on Disney
God,
Plus.
yes, yeah, I see those posts
That is
too.
the
It's
world we live in.
infuriating. Yeah, or what I love I mean, what I love, what is so it's like nails on a chalkboard is when people are like, "Oh, yeah, I started watching season 3, and the first 2 episodes have AD, and then the next 2 don't, but then the 6th the, 5th one does."
Oh,
But
spot
then
the audio
like,
description.
no, I know,
Yes.
it gives me it stresses me out. I'm like,
Yes.
who can we yell at?" Ugh,
All right. So next question, since we've sort of moved into TV series mode, I might as well go ahead and ask you,
okay.
what's your favorite TV show? Like, what do you love to watch when you're, kicking back and relaxing?
Oh, I watch so much TV.
List more
S
than one then.
yeah.
Give
Uh,
some shout outs.
Severance is a show that kind of changed my life by how good it is. It lives rent free in my head. I just love that show. That would be a show that I wish I could have worked on the AD and just because and I've only heard a little bit of the AD, so I can't, that's not I'm not throwing shade on the current AD, just as
Sure.
something that I would have loved to do as an artistic sort of exercise because
Yeah.
it has such a specific look. Um, God, I love that show so much.
Wow.
Reservation Dogs is also terrific. I miss it already. It's like it's over now. That show is great. Yeah, yeah.
That would
There's
have
a
been
bunch.
great
I
for
don't
you
need
to
to go
jump
on.
on that. That would
Say
have
what?
been great for you to jump on the audio description for Reservation Dogs just so that maybe it could get done on time.
Oh yeah, that's one of. Ugh,
I'm gonna
yeah,
throw some
yeah.
shade at Hulu for that
Listen,
one.
call me Hulu. Call me.
Hulu be Hulu. I said that a lot on my channel. I say Hulu be Hulu
Yeah.
because I don't know. They just audio description is. I called them once and asked if I could get audio description on a movie. It wasn't a Hulu movie, but it was a
Mhm.
movie and it had an audio description track that
Mhm.
existed. And they said
Mhm.
no. The person didn't even bother to move it up the chain. I
They
asked,
just
I was
said
like, "Is there
no.
any way that we can get audio description on this?" And they were like, "No." I was
I
like,
am.
"Okay, good. We're just saying no now."
I
That
am.
cuts out the time. At least we're not placating me anymore.
I am
I kind of
gobsmacked
respect that.
by.
In some ways, I respect the no rather than the repeatedly calling and asking for the same thing over and over.
I mean,
Like,
sure, but also that is absolutely wild to me to just. I was just talking to someone else about this, and that when he was telling me a similar story of just like, no, we don't care about accessibility. You need to get over it. The end. It is absolutely wild to me that that is just that people think that that's an acceptable answer. I mean, I get your point about like, okay, well, don't talk
yeah,
out of one side of your mouth and then like don't do anything about it. That is also extremely frustrating. But just the audacity. Wow,
it
I'm
is. Well,
floored.
it's even the audacity now that they're Disney too, because now they represent
Mm,
Disney. So now it's a
mm,
Disney brand representing Disney, but Disney seems fully complacent in, like, for example, they have the Creator that's available on Disney Plus and Hulu, does not have audio description. It's this huge science fiction film that's nominated for best visual effects. No audio
mhm.
description on either service, and that's a 20th Century Fox film. So yeah, I think this is a battle that we're constantly fighting. So the idea of an intro track
Mm.
just seems like generations from
I
now.
hear you.
Like
I
I'm
no, I
like we're
hear you.
I'm just trying to get audio description on a Disney movie on a Disney streaming service right now. Like that's
But
it.
yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Well, and the porting
So
is a whole separate issue too. That's something that in the industry we talk about a lot behind the scenes that, people do care and know about that. It's just, well, we don't need to get into that, but the
absolutely.
transferring from one service to another with the AD track is
Yes.
something
The
that
full
should just
thing.
be standard. It should.
All right. We need a silly question now. So
Yes,
you're
please.
making a PB&J.
Mhm.
You don't have peanut butter.
Mm.
What do you put? You've already put the jelly on. What goes with the jelly? Are you just going to eat the bread, or do you have something else
You know
that
what I'm gonna
goes with?
you know what I'm gonna put on there? I'm gonna put some cream cheese on it.
Ooh, cream cheese and jelly sandwich. That sounds
Yeah,
really good.
I think that would be absolutely delicious.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, let's do it.
Especially with since Philadelphia has all those different flavors you could
Oh,
really play with.
okay.
So it
Okay,
doesn't
now you're
even
getting
have to be
fancy.
like regular cream cheese, you know? There's like
Listen,
garden vegetable or uh
roasted garlic. Yeah.
salmon.
Mhm. Yeah.
It
Zesty
depends on
ranch.
the jelly you're using, you know?
Sure,
You
yeah,
never
maybe it's
know.
pepper jelly. I don't know. I don't know your life.
All those things. Yeah,
Do
it's
you?
you. You do salmon and jelly sandwich. Yes. Um, yeah, so I don't even know why there's salmon cream cheese, let alone why you want to put that on a sandwich. So, okay, so I feel like everybody but me has a favorite sports team. Do you have do you enjoy a sports ball?
I am not really a sports ball follower. I'm also I'm pretty fair weather in terms of like whose Super Bowl party I'm at. I'm like, who are you? Who are we rooting for? Great, give me the nachos. Like I'm there for snacks. Yeah, I don't really have a sports ball team. I'll you know I like I've rooted for the Giants in the past because they're New York, and I would definitely pick like Mets over Yankees just because like come on the Yankees. But, oh, you know what? Actually, seen in person the most because it is a delightful afternoon to take the ferry out to Staten Island and, you know, watch a minor league, um, baseball game with fireworks at the end. What's not to
Great.
love?
Those people are dramatically underrepresented and horribly underpaid. So I'm glad we gave a
Agreed.
shout out to a minor league baseball team.
Yeah, Staten Island Ferry
Most
rocks.
of them need like other jobs because they make so little in in the minor league.
Oof,
Uh,
yeah.
that needs to be a documentary about playing in the minor leagues. Somebody needs to do
Yeah,
that.
right? Yeah.
Um,
Or they have a lady pitcher too, which is awesome.
oh wow, yeah, that is great. Yeah. Uh, okay. So back into things.
Mhm.
Music. Who do you listen to? Do you when you're maybe it helps you work or whatever,
Oof.
when you write?
Yeah. I know. I can't listen to anything when I'm working, just because I my attention my attention doesn't work that way. I'm not a multitasker. I mostly listen to music. I cook a lot, so I mostly listen to music, like, while I'm cooking. It kind of depends on my mood. I'm very much, I'm one of those people who I do my best, but my musical exploring kind of stopped when I was like in college. So I'll let various algorithms kind of suggest new stuff to me. But I'm into like a lot of like 90s and 2000s like punk and like pop punk, like
Yeah.
NoFX, Lagwagon, a lot of the SoCal sort of scene. Um, Elliott Smith, Bright Eyes, a lot of feelingsy music. Newer
Okay.
stuff I really like. I've been listening to Japanese Breakfast a lot. They're extremely cool. Oh, and the Linda Lindas are totally badass. Um, yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag. It just depends. Sometimes I'll just put on some old funk or something to just like
I
bop
feel like
around.
you're definitely speaking to someone. I don't know if that person is ever going to watch this video, but if they do, someone out there is going to be like, she's speaking to my soul. This music's so specific. You know,
There's
it's
someone out there. I mean, you know,
there is someone
my
there.
taste
Yep.
isn't that unique.
It's
It's eclectic, but
it's eclectic and niche, and there is someone that it matches.
I
It's
look forward to meeting you, music twin.
yes, whoever is out there, give a shout out and be like, oh my god, that's all the music that I love. Um, have you ever seen a Broadway musical? And if so, but I'm asking this because I know that about New York City. And if so, which one is your favorite?
I have
We'll
seen
assume.
so many Broadway musicals. I'm a
I
theater
hope
kid.
so. I was going with that because you told me where you were, and I was like, she's got to have seen a Broadway show.
Yeah, I'm a theater kid. I went to school to become a theater actor,
Oh,
which, you know, did not didn't happen. But I love the theater. I love both straight plays and musicals. I actually just saw Sweeney Todd on Thursday night because my coworker won the lottery, but then her boyfriend got really sick and they couldn't go, so she, passed the tickets along to me. Um, and it was great. I love Sondheim. I love Sweeney Todd. Since they were lottery tickets, we were in the front row, which sounds cool, but it makes the sight lines are really wacky when you're
Yeah,
in the front row because you're
yeah.
below the stage and too close to, so there was some stuff that I didn't quite catch.
Did
Um,
you ever get a little too close to Aaron Tveit?
to which?
To Aaron Tveit, isn't he still playing Sweeney
Oh,
right now?
no, this understudies were
Oh, you had understudies.
they were both terrific. Well, and
Good.
one of them I didn't recognize from his previous Broadway work, but the other one I'm trying to remember I don't know how to pronounce her name. I think is she Joanna Vanderwall? I want to say she actually she was Diana in Diana the musical that I wrote the AD for when it was on Netflix.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and
You had to
I
watch
have
that 6 times. Okay.
yeah, it was not good. She, however, as Mrs. Lovett, is terrific. She's so funny
Yes.
and so talented, and I was delighted to see her just like strut her stuff in this role. So that was really fun. And I was also like 15 feet away from Alex Lacamoire, who was conducting, which I remembered
Wow.
he was the music supervisor, but I was like, oh right, he's the conductor. Oh shit, that's Alex Lacamoire. So that was a cool kind of fangirl moment. So yeah, I try and see
Yeah,
theater as much as I can. It is very expensive, so I kind of have to budget for it and or do
sure.
various lotteries and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it was
Yeah, I
last
live
one I
down
saw.
here in Orlando, and we have I have friends that are always flying up to New York to catch a couple shows and then fly back down.
Oh
So that,
wow.
that way, I work in music theater, and I have students who are training for that.
Oh
It's funny because you
cool.
said Diana the musical, and I have a student that she told me she was auditioning for Diana the musical, and my immediate answer was just like a knee jerk reaction. I was like, "Why?
Yeah.
Who's doing
Oh,
that?"
listen,
Like,
actors got to work. You can't blame the actors.
and she
It's
was
just
like, her answer was literally just like, she's like, I can't believe anybody is doing it. I have to audition. Like, it was just, she was just so
yeah,
surprised that anybody would want to do it. So,
famously a fiasco.
yes, just that's so interesting. Anyway, so Broadway musicals, good. We've tackled that. Have you ever had the opportunity to write live audio description?
Uh, it's funny you mentioned that because I was like, "Oh, I should have brought that up." I actually got to okay, so I have done live audio description once. It was for a gala event. Um, actually, the UNICEF gala that happened a couple months back, where Aria Mia Liberti, who is the star of All the Light We Cannot See, was the keynote
Ah,
speaker,
excellent.
and
Yes.
so they made the entire event totally accessible. They had ASL interpreters. I was describing the whole thing live. It was a really cool experience. It scares the crap out of me. It's a really different skill set than writing AD. And I bow
Yeah.
down to all the live AD folks who do that day in and day out. I am in awe of them. We did actually get to produce the audio description for the touring production of Into the Woods, the Broadway production of Into the Woods that has,
Mhm.
you know, been touring the whole country, um, which is kind of it's not live, but it's cued live. So I saw the show 3 or 4 times. I had a recording. I wrote the AD. I worked really closely with the woman who her name is Maria Porto. She's amazing. She has a company called Access Broadway. She herself is hard of hearing, and she has been developing this brand new software for live theater, basically, to put all of the fold the closed captions and the AD into one app, basically.
That's
Um,
excellent.
yeah, but the difference between her software and a lot of the current software that is running AD in live theater is that currently the cues are tied to like it's all set up ahead of time. The
Hmm.
AD cues and the closed caption cues are tied to like um, I believe it's the lighting board or, other things that are being triggered, by a person in the production. The thing is it's
Sure.
live theater and stuff changes all the time. They'll make changes they'll add a line or someone ad libs something that they want to keep or whatever. So that stuff needs to be updated constantly. And for the AD, the timing changes. So, someone will skip a few lines and all of a sudden, oops, we missed that one bit of business. We have to skip over it. So her program has a live person in the theater firing all the cues so that they are watching the show with you and providing a more accurate experience, both for
Yeah.
closed captions and AD. So that was a really cool process. It was really challenging because it's new software, so we were kind of figuring out all the formatting and everything in real time. Um, but this was a while ago. It's buttoned up now. Um, but that was a really cool experience. And live theater AD is so challenging for all of those reasons. You want to make
Yeah.
sure you get all the jokes, but sometimes people ad lib and you can't quite get it. Um, but it much more closely replicates the experience. So yeah, we did get to work on Into the Woods, which is another Sondheim and another classic.
That's that is excellent. Yeah, that touring production came through here. I didn't go see it, but I've seen Into the Woods and many other times. It's something that gets performed all the time.
Yep,
I live in the
it's a
theater
popular one.
area, so someone is always doing Into the Woods.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, part of the great problem with going to movie theaters is, when you always hear any of us blind folk complain about the equipment.
Hmm.
Generally, that somebody's either not trained on it, it's broken. We have to get up and
Hmm.
go get another one. When I saw
Battery's not
Oppenheimer,
charged. Yeah.
I had to go up third time's the charm. You know what I'm saying?
Oh God.
So it's just I
Ugh,
hadn't been in
yeah.
the theaters in a while, so I'm just like, "Ah, this is why."
Yeah.
And so to be able to control your own equipment and be responsible for it is amazing. And
Yeah.
if we can do that, I feel like we could conquer the world.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, speaking of another area where audio description still needs to make headway, and barely, would you ever want to write audio description for video games?
Oh man. Yes, and yes, and it terrifies me. I mean, I think it's fascinating
Yeah.
describing whole environments that way.
Hmm.
Um, I also think there are so many cool advances being made in the video game world as far as like haptics and stuff. Um, what's the racing game that came out recently-ish where
Forza, I believe,
yes,
has an
yes,
accessible version.
yes, which I've heard awesome things about. I feel like there are so many exciting paths to forge there. Um, I mean, honestly, what it comes down to is making sure that accessibility is considered from the very beginning, right? No matter what it
Yeah.
is. Ideally, we would get to that place with movies and TV as well. But I think we're a lot closer on video games because it is a little bit more on developers' radars, at least if it's not, necessarily a priority for everybody. Um, at least more folks are aware of it, I think. And I think the companies who are prioritizing it are doing really cool stuff with it. Um, but the key is to make sure to have disabled people involved from the very beginning, right? Because
Yes.
otherwise, you're just kind of like doing
And
your best guess and then being like, hey, can you fix this for us? Like,
and
point
then
out
you
all the
have stuff
mistakes
that's
we
like
made.
partially accessible, where you
Right.
still need help. Like a lot of people play Mortal Kombat, but it's not fully accessible.
Hmm.
It's close, but the screen reading software and stuff just I understand people have to navigate the menus a little bit
Mm,
with some difficulty. So
that sucks.
yeah, uh, I hopefully I used to play video games, so hopefully that'll go. I have a whole slew of friends that I lost because I can't play any video games with them because the
Ugh.
accessible video games are not what they play. So
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to maybe 10 or 20 years just suddenly send them a hey, want to play this game? Call of Duty 47? We figured
Yeah.
it
Well,
out.
47. Well, that's the thing, like, I'm not a gamer. I just, I just know about it from what I kind of, read in the industry, and I know folks who do work on video games.
Yeah.
Um, and that's why it's so crucial too, is because it's such a huge way for folks to connect.
Yes.
It's such a social thing too. So yeah,
Yeah.
but again, that's why you gotta involve disabled people from the very start, because y'all know
Exactly.
what needs to be incorporated and what doesn't, and what's important and what's less important, and what makes something fully accessible as
Exactly.
opposed to partially accessible. We can always
Yeah,
do our best guess, but it's never going to be good enough. So,
definitely. So you're a writer. Have you ever written anything other than audio description for yourself? Like, have you ever worked on a book or write magazines or blogs or poems
so
or
yeah, I
letters
mean,
on bathroom walls?
oh God, I've written all of those things. Yeah, I have some really embarrassing journals from when I was a kid floating around here. Yeah, there was one year, a couple years out of college, because I did minor in creative writing in college too. So, as a fallback, right? In case acting didn't work out, I had my creative
Sure.
writing minor to really bolster my earning power. Um,
Hmm.
but I a couple years out of college, I wrote a spec script for The Fairly Odd Parents, for like it's this Nickelodeon internship thing. I still think was a pretty solid script, although I didn't get into the program. Um,
Yeah.
and I actually, before I got into audio description, I was in food for nearly a decade and ran my own candy business
That's
because it was
exciting.
Brooklyn in
I
the
was
in
wondering
the
where we were
aughts.
going with in food. I was like, you were inside of food?
Yep, I was just
Hanging out
inside
inside
food.
of food.
Mhm.
Yeah, for 10 years. Okay. It's a long time
um,
to be inside of like a burrito, but
I worked in food. I ran a candy business with my business partner, still very close friend of mine, and we actually wrote a cookbook that was published, and you can search for and find and check out from the library and stuff. So that's pretty cool. I have written a cookbook.
that's that's really exciting. You're published. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's out there.
yeah,
It's out
yeah.
there in
It
the
was
real
awesome.
world. So people who want more Liz Gutman in their life can go to their local library and demand the cookbook.
Yep, it's true.
The cookbook.
Yep.
Yep. Do you ever get like a royalty check from anybody from anywhere for book sales, or is that
Nope.
long gone? No,
Nope.
no.
Nope. No royalties
All
on the
right.
horizon for that, I don't think.
I mean, sometimes actors get these really weird royalty checks for like pennies. So
Yes, I have
for
actor
things that
friends
they've
who
done.
have received, yeah, they'll be like, "Oh,
So I
17
don't know if
cents.
you
Thank you
got
so
like
much."
3 cents a year from your cookbook or something,
No, no, unfortunately. Sadly, no hilariously small royalty checks for me.
but okay. Um. So next question. I always like to throw in some silly questions. Do you think you would win the Hunger Games?
Absolutely not. I this is how I'll put it. Anytime I love a zombie movie. Who doesn't love a zombie movie? They stress me
Yeah.
out, but they're great. I am always like I would rather be a zombie. Like I would rather be dead or be a zombie. Don't make me live in some fortress city where everyone's like scraping by, and I'm not, no. I just leave me behind. Like remember me fondly, but
So
I am
so
not
so
I'm not ruthless enough.
you watch zombie movies and you see some poor soul getting their like neck ripped out and you're like, oh, I wish
Yeah.
that was me.
I'm like, "Hey,
Oh.
Hermano." Yeah, that's me. "Hi, bud." See you shambling around the abandoned shopping mall in a few hours.
Yeah. Okay. Um. So next up on the question list, what's your favorite genre? Like if you could kind of stick to a genre
Hmm.
of writing, what genre would you like to write for?
I I love dramas. I do. It just covers like when I go back to what my favorite, like shows and movies are, and even what I like to read, like when I'm reading books and stuff. I kind of count novels as like I'm doing air quotes drama, just because I feel like they kind of track with like a scripted what a scripted drama
Mhm.
would be like. Yeah, I think drama. I think I love sci-fi. I love action. Um, but I think drama has, for me, has more kind of range that I'd be interested in exploring if that was all I wrote. So I think I'd stick with that.
Cool. All right. Oscars are long approaching. Who got snubbed, in your opinion? What one either film or performance did you see from last year that you feel like
Hmm.
should have been recognized? Who would
I
you
don't know
give
if
a
I
nomination to,
Yeah, I don't know if I
or
have a good
what?
answer for that because I'd have to like pull up the Oscar nominations. I know the big ones, but I also haven't seen as many as I like. I still need to see Past Lives. I still need to
Yeah.
see Killing of the Flower Moon. I literally just watched Oppenheimer last night. Um, I don't have a good answer for that. I'm so sorry. My memory doesn't
Okay.
support coming up with a good answer for that on the fly.
So you're not going to immediately jump on the Greta Gerwig Margot Robbie train like all
No,
of
I'm
20
not. That whole
or
God.
X, whatever we call it now.
No, I'm not getting into that. Barbie was a fun movie and it was nominated for a bunch of Oscars. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Was the Weird Al movie this year? Nominate Daniel
But
Radcliffe.
that wasn't theatrical. That
Oh.
that was a Roku movie that
Ugh.
debuted without audio description.
Yeah, it
Uh,
did. Um, yeah, no, I got nothing. Sorry.
yeah.
Bad guest. But that's
Um,
I'll see myself out.
we're getting pretty close though. I have three questions left for you.
Okay, okay.
First one, since you did mention that you used to run a candy store, now I'm intrigued as to what candy you would choose for your movie watching experiences or TV watching experiences. What's the best candy for that?
I
Uh,
love Junior Mints. Out of like the theatrical candy experience. Anything mint chocolate I'm into, but Junior Mint specifically, I don't know. I have a real nostalgic like those have always kind of been my movie candy. So I have a lot of really fond memories of being a little kid with my giant box of Junior Mints and, just snacking on those in the theater.
I too love Junior Mints. I think chocolate or just anything is good. Maybe
Yeah.
chocolate and jelly sandwich from
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe
Nutella,
with the
I
salmon
mean,
cream cheese. Yeah, all that is
sure.
good. Yeah, put that in there. So second to last question. We're winding down to the end here. Who is your favorite blind film critic on YouTube?
I'm trying to remember his name. Starts with a J. Jake, Jor, Jor,
Jake
Jorn,
Johnson. Yes,
Jorn,
Jordan.
Jarn.
Michael Jordan.
I think his name is Jarn something.
Something.
It's you, obviously.
Something. Yeah, good. There was only one right answer to that question. Uh,
I picked
the
up what you were putting down.
a shameless self promotion for myself, just so I can now say Liz Gutman thinks I'm her favorite blind film critic
Put it
on
on the movie
YouTube.
poster. Yeah.
I don't think she knows of any other on YouTube, but I will use that now as
They
a
don't need
quote.
to know that.
I don't need to know that. It's I'm a minority anyway. So all right. So final question. Just I always like to give people at the end an opportunity to give a shout out to all of the amazing talent that works in the audio description community, from all of the obvious people that we as blind watchers get to hear, the narrators and sometimes the writers and the companies and anybody else. You might have good audio people that you know of. You might have somebody who you work with who does payroll really well. I don't know. Who do you want to give a shout out to?
I want to give a few shout outs if that's okay.
That's as many as you would like.
Amazing.
The floor is yours.
Get comfy. No, I'll keep it briefish.
Okay.
I mean, my first shout out I need to give to my the person who trained me to do audio description and now my co-instructor at audio description training retreats. This is sort of a self plug, but mostly they're just awesome. Colleen Connor, who is also a theater kid. Um, and we are friends, we are co-instructors, we are, you know, just kind of muddling through this audio description world together. But Colleen quite literally taught me everything I know. So shout out to Colleen Connor. Um, as far as people I work with, I mean, shout out to my boss Eric Wickstrom. Like he really makes a lot of what we do as writers possible in terms of pushing the envelope, in terms of advocating for more involvement from the blind community in producing audio description. He and I worked really closely together to bring on blind and low vision narrators to IDC back in 2020 when all of a sudden remote work became possible for no reason.
Right.
So he really does a lot behind the scenes to make our department what it is. My fellow writers, Stephen Christopher, Dakota Green, and Betty Capot, and all our amazing freelancers. Our engineer Lewis Fisher, who I have worked with so many amazing and talented audio engineers. And what I love about Lewis is that he is always asking questions. He's always like, why do you format the scripts this way? Why do you do this? Why do we make sure this happens? And that's how you get really stellar AD tracks is when everyone involved, and this is true for the writers, this is true for everybody.
Yeah.
Um, when everyone involved is curious and wants to know why we do things a certain way so that they learn that and then they apply that to their next track and that track gets even better. I feel really strongly about always explaining the why. So people who are curious as to the why end up being really good
Yeah.
at this because it's not just how do I do this? It's well, why are we doing it this way? And because then too, they can come back and say, I think maybe we should do it this way instead. And nothing we do is set in stone. We're constantly updating our style guide.
Sure.
But when people are curious and want to learn and come up with their own ideas on how to improve things, then that will make all of us better, and that will continue to make our tracks better. Um, and yeah, just to the entire blind and low vision community who I love hearing from. We always want to hear your thoughts on stuff that we worked on. That's partly why we fought to have our credits at the end of every track. It's not just to brag about it, it's also to be like, hey, if you don't like something about this, if we messed up in any way, if we could have done something better, now you know who we are and you know how to find us. So it's transparency too.
That's
So
excellent.
shout out to all those people. Oh, and also just to Thomas Reed also, just because I've been listening to his podcast a bunch lately, and he just covers so much. That podcast is just Read My Mind Radio is just one of my favorites of all time.
Cool. I definitely need to get to know Thomas a
He's the
lot more
best.
than I already do. I work so much with the guys from the Dark Room podcast that
Hmm.
I feel like I need to branch out more. We have to.
Well, Alex and Lee are also terrific, and that is also a great
They are.
podcast.
They are also terrific. Yeah, we all have to be terrific together though, because otherwise they think that we don't exist in this community, or that we will be perfectly fine with the absolute worst robot audio, AI generated audio descriptions
Ooh,
imaginable that have absolutely no audio engineering to them whatsoever. Just throw them on, slap them on there.
hate it, hate it.
Um, Yeah. So we got to push for what you do, which is quality audio description. And it has been an absolute honor and a pleasure to have you. I can't believe I landed Liz Gutman. This is amazing. This has been
I
the
love
time of
answering
my life.
questions.
I feel
Thank
like
you so
I've
much for having me. It's this has
yes, I
actually
feel
been
like I
really
just
fun.
interviewed like Meryl Streep, like but of like AD writers.
You
I've
hear
read your
that,
name
Meryl?
so many times
Come
that
at me, Meryl.
I feel like if you were on IMDb for everything you'd written, your IMDb credits would be insane. Um,
Maybe
yeah,
someday.
it's so great to have had you on here and to talk about Colonel Mustard, and he's such a scamp, all the way
Yeah.
down to all of these great people who work in audio description and all the great things that have happened in audio description and the great film and television and Broadway and your amazing music selections. It's just so much. I hope this helps people to get to know you a little bit better, so that that way when they hear written by Liz Gutman, they know.
Here I
They know
am. It's
Liz a
me.
little bit better. Yeah. So I thank you for having me. And if you guys enjoyed 20 Questions Live, I have a guest lined up. I don't want to spoil it yet, just in case it falls through. These things sometimes fall through.
Ooh.
In about 3 weeks, I should be doing another one of these. So more to come on that. But make sure you click subscribe, like, and subscribe. Also, shout out to the Audio Description Project, adp.acb.org. It'll give you all the information you ever need to know about audio description if you have never been to that website before. It also tells you where you can watch movies with audio description, which streaming services they're on, and also the adna.org, which actually lists, in addition to hosting me sometimes, also lists credits for writers like Liz Gutman. So if you're curious as to other things that she may have done, there's an option to search her name on there and see what's on there. It's user uploaded because IMDb will not let people who work in audio description on the service for audio description. So that's it. That's a wrap. And once again, thank you to Liz and thank you to my audience. And as usual, I will see you guys on the other side.
Thanks, John.
Thanks.